Hey, and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday lunch stream. It is good to come your way again with another live show. I've been enjoying doing these. I think this is the fourth week that we're doing this, and I'm excited to bring you the show. If you are in here, just say hello. If you're watching this on the replay, make sure that you hit a thumbs up and make sure you also say hi. How are you guys doing? I'm coming to you from sunny. Today it is sunny San Diego. And we are going to be talking all about mindset when it comes to writing and succeeding as a writer. Hey, Kristen. Thanks for joining. Thanks. That's Kristen, my very able VA. Yes. So anyway, today I wanted to talk about, I'm going to talk for a little bit. And then, if you have any questions as it relates to writing, freelance writing, making money as a writer, please feel free to leave them in the chat. I'm more than happy to respond to you. I also wanted to mention this free resource that I have. You can go to gnontra.com/free, gnontra.com/free. And these are some writer resources that I've gathered for you guys. Okay, I'm going to share my screen right here. Let's do that and show you these writer resources that I have for you. I have a 7-point checklist for landing your first freelance writing client, 30 attention grabbing headlines, okay? Because I'll tell you why this is important. 30 evergreen content ideas for videos, blogs, podcasts, social media, anything you want to create. This is going to be helpful for you. Okay, and so make sure to check that out if you haven't already. It's at gnontra.com/free. All right, so today I wanted to talk about mindsets because I think that for the most part, when I do my videos, hey Patricia, I'm doing great. When I do my videos on here, I really get into the technical things, right? I'm teaching you about SEO and the differences between a case study and a white paper, and I get into that and how to get clients, right? But one of the things I realized in my own journey into writing and into entrepreneurship was the fact that sometimes a lot of us neglect to work on our mindsets. And because we don't work on our mindsets, okay, listen to this very, very carefully. Don't click off. Because we don't work on our mindsets, we end up having a really hard time. Now, I just wanted to make sure, just checking, can you guys see me right now and hear me? Let me know. I was running my mouth and I wasn't even sure if you guys could see me and hear me. But if you can, then what I want to continue saying is that so many of us will work on trying to get clients and trying to learn SEO and trying to learn Google Analytics and trying to learn all these technical things without working on our mindset first. And this is a huge mistake. And I realized in my own journey that this was a huge mistake. Now, why do I say it's a huge mistake? Well, here's the thing. If you cannot in your mindset fathom that somebody could pay you $1,000 for a white paper that you wrote, or you have issues with yourself and like, oh, this is something, for instance, one really big mindset problem that I've encountered, right, myself, is that you do this work. It's amazing. It comes to you easily. You write this blog article or you write a white paper or you do something, right? And it's an amazing piece of content. And because it comes to you so easily, you think to yourself, it comes to me so easily. Why would I charge for this? Or why would I charge so much, right? And this has happened to me quite a bit. But the fact that something comes to you easily doesn't mean that you cannot charge very well for it. I remember a story that somebody told me. I went to a conference and I heard this story, and it was about a copywriter. This copywriter would write copy for businesses, for companies across the United States, make them millions and millions of dollars. Well, for this copywriter, it took them only about an hour to write the copy that was making these companies millions of dollars. All right. And he charged a good rate for it. He charged really well for it. So one of the things he could have said, that particular copywriter could have said was, it only took me an hour to do this. Maybe you should pay me $50. But the reality is that that copy was making thousands and thousands, actually millions of dollars for these companies that he was writing for. And so why would he not charge a premium price? Why would he not charge upwards of $5,000 or even more than that if something that took him an hour to write is going to make a company $1 million? So it really is a mind. And I realized, and from listening to that story, I realized, oh my goodness, it's a mindset thing. Because this thing that I'm creating, right? Whenever you're writing something as a writer, you have to think, especially for those of us that are in client work, you have to think that what kind of results is the person, the client I'm creating this for, going to get? What type of results are they going to get? Are they going to get more people into their funnels, into their marketing funnels? Are they going to use this piece to sell equipment worth $250,000? Trust me, I've been there, right? Are they going to use this piece that took me just 2 hours to create? Maybe it took 5 hours to create, but then they're going to be using it for years and years, and they're going to be profiting off of that piece for years to come. When you begin to think of it that way as a writer, then you begin to realize, oh my word, I don't have to undercharge. I shouldn't undercharge. And I shouldn't devalue my skills, because my skills are valuable. And the way they're valuable is not because I just spent an hour. It has nothing to do with the fact that you spent an hour or 2 hours or even 10 hours on something, but the fact that it is going to yield a certain level of results for the client that you're writing for later on. Once I began to understand this, because in my own experience, right? In my own experience, I've written content for blogs, I've written content for email newsletters, I've written social media content, right? And right now, in my role as an agency writer, I'm writing white papers, I'm writing case studies, I do social media content. Now, I have to think about the fact that when I create this, right? So there was this one time I created a social media post and it drove maybe, I can't remember, but maybe 200, 300, 500 people to a website just from one social media post. Now, out of those 300 people or 200 people that showed up there, even one person, this is a company that sells equipment and assays in the thousands of dollars. Their products are not cheap. Okay. And so now 300 people showed up, 200 people clicked through that link that was in that social media post. They go to that company's website. Then when they go there, one of them decides that they want to buy a $25,000 piece of equipment because they're doing the research. They're in the market for that kind of machine or that kind of equipment. And this company seems to have, the specifications that they would need for the experiments they want to run in their lab, because my expertise is in science and health writing. They go ahead and they purchase that. Is it worth it for me to charge the client, I don't know, $1,000 a month for creating a bunch of social media posts for them? Of course, because one social media post could land them thousands of dollars in sales because of what I've written. So as writers, it's really important to not devalue your work just by how much time you spend on it, or to value your work. Let me put it this way. It's important that you don't just value your work based on how many hours you're spending creating that piece of content, but you also think of the results that piece of content is going to get that other person, or the person that's the end user. What value is it creating? When you begin to think of it this way, setting your prices becomes so easier, because I know that one of the biggest questions I get on this channel, and I've got this in emails and stuff like that, is how much do I charge, G? How much exactly do I charge? And I always say to people, how much do you think your time is worth? And yes, your time is worth a lot, but beyond thinking about how much time you spend on something, I really do want you to think about the value you're delivering to whoever and whichever company you're creating that piece of content for. Another thing to realize is that, as we're talking about mindset, the mindset of a successful writer is to realize that as you continue to do something, as you continue to write, as you continue to learn all these skills. So I started writing, I started freelance writing, and really writing as a paid writer in 2017, right? That was when I really dove into writing as a paid writer. And I've done so many types of writing. So when I say writing, I'm talking about freelance writing, I'm talking about writing my books, I'm talking about being an agency writer right now, right? So I dove into writing as a career in 2017. Now, over this time, and we're in 2021, that's 4 years later. Over this time, I've learned, and before I came into writing in 2017, I had been learning various skills. I had a blog, I had been blogging, I had been reading other people's blogs, buying courses on SEO, buying courses on setting up a business. I had been doing all of this, right? So I had invested in my skills. Okay, this is another thing that it's important for you to realize, is that it's important for you, if you value your business and if you value your writing, you will continually invest in yourself. And it's not just even writing. Anything that you want to do, you have to invest in yourself. I'll talk about that in a minute. But I had invested in myself, and I had been practicing, I had been working on this, and now I was offering this as a service to bigger bloggers, to companies, and I was writing for them, right? Now, over time, over 4 years, do you think that my skill has gotten better? Of course it has. Okay, of course it has. If you do something regularly for 4 years, you're going to get better at it. When you read, there's a book by Malcolm Gladwell, and he talks about the 10,000 hour rule. Some people say that's true, some people say it's not true. But the essence of that conversation is that if you do something, right, if you put enough time into doing something, you will become an expert at that thing. You will eventually get to genius level. And according to Malcolm Gladwell, in his book, he was talking about the fact that 10,000 hours puts a lot of people who are at the top of their game at the top of their game. So I remember in that book, I think it's Outliers, I believe that's the title of the book. He compared, he like looked at different groups of people that have been revered, have been highly respected in their professions. And he said, hey, look at the Beatles, which is, for those of you that don't know who the Beatles are, I don't listen to the Beatles, but I know that they were a band, right? The Beatles, he talked about certain accomplished musicians and all these other kinds of people, right? Who we consider geniuses, but they didn't get to genius level at the things that they do simply by being a genius. They've practiced. And according to him, they've put in at least 10,000 hours of practice to get to that level. When you take 10,000 hours of practice or 10,000 hours of doing something, we have 365 days in a year. Somebody can do the math and share the answer in the comments, right? But if you practice something, if you did something for about 3 hours a day, 5 times a week, that's 15 hours every week. 52 weeks in a year times 15, right? 15 times 50, that's somewhere around 800 hours. Somebody can, again, do the math. That's around 800 hours. So essentially, it will take you around 10 years, right, to get to genius level in whatever it is that you're trying to do. But the reality is that you don't even need to get to 10 years to be even like half good at what you're doing. So the point I'm trying to make is that I've been a writer, right? I've been a paid writer for the last 4 years. And so I must have practiced this enough to be good at it, right? When you become good at something, sometimes you get faster. So the fact that you're doing something faster, the fact that you're doing something in a shorter amount of time does not mean that you need to devalue your skill, or or the value of your skill is only based on how much time you are actually spending doing that thing. And that's what I want to, that's the message I wanted to like really get across. And it's something that I continue to tell myself, that the fact that it takes me an hour to do something is just evidence, right? Like something that used to take me maybe 5 hours now takes me an hour is just evidence that I've gotten good at my craft to the point where I can take something that I used to do for 5 hours and then I can do it in an hour, right? But that doesn't mean that I need to reduce my rate from what it used to be in 2017 I need to reduce that just because I've gotten faster at doing something. And these are all little mindset things that I don't usually share, but I'm sharing them today because as creatives, there are so many times, right? And I've done this so many times when we just undervalue the value that we create for other people. We undervalue the value that we create for other people, and it's really important to get that. And once you understand this, okay, this is where people can come to you and they'll say, hey, you know what? I'll pay you $20 for this thing, right? Or $10. I remember I wrote all these page descriptions. I think they're product descriptions for a client of mine. She was really nice. And I had told her beforehand what I was going to charge. At that time, I think I was not even charging much. I think I was charging like 10 cents a word or something like this. Ended up writing a lot. It was over Christmas break. I got really tired. It took me about 2 weeks. And I was going to, I think that bill ended up being around $3,000 when I calculated everything. So like I send it and then she sends an email back and she's like, this is ridiculous. This is so much. I never knew that you're going to charge this much. And I was like, wait a minute. I told you I was going to charge this much. And in that moment, I remember feeling maybe she's right. Maybe I'm not worth $3,000. Maybe I'm worth like less than that, because I mean, this is something that I would do anyway. So maybe I should just try. And I ended up cutting that in less than half and be like, it's okay. You don't have to pay me this much. Pay me less than that. In hindsight, that was a huge mistake. And maybe, you don't do that right now, but realizing that your skill is valuable, realizing that when you write a piece of content, whether that's a copy, you're copywriting a landing page, writing a social media post, creating, writing blog posts, realizing that you are creating some kind of value for your client that could go on for a really long time should help you feel confident in charging what it is that you charge. Now, will there be people that say you are expensive? Of course. Even people that don't charge. I've had situations. I remember one time I raised my price by 2.5 times. I was like, I'm just going to say this, right? I'm just going to say this to this person. The person wrote me back immediately and was like, oh, that's such a good rate. Right? I raised the price by 2.5 times, and the person wrote me back and said, oh, that's such a good rate. Meanwhile, at the former rate, there were people that were complaining. So there are some people that are going to complain about your pricing, and then there are people that are going to be like, that is perfect. That is great. Because a lot of the time for those people, they understand that in order for you to create that work, you've had and to create a certain level of work. Now, we're not talking about mediocre work either, right? We're not talking about subpar work. We're talking about excellent work, right? If we're not delivering things on time, if there are grammatical mistakes in our writing, if what you've written doesn't make sense, don't do that. Don't do that, right? But if we're creating excellent work and we know that this work is going to get our clients these results, I've shared some of those results on here with you guys. One of them is one of my clients hardly getting any traffic to their website, did SEO for them for years. I wrote content for them and all that. They started ranking. They're still ranking. in on page one of Google for multiple keywords that lead people to their website and generates business for them. I've done that for another client, right? Social media posts that I've created, giving clients results, and so on and so forth. I have a few of those stories to share, right? And so when you realize that your work is good, it doesn't have to be super genius level. Super genius level is when we've done this for 10 years. But when we've done this for 3, 4 years, even a year, we have some level of proficiency. And I really want you to feel confident in your level of proficiency such that when somebody comes to you, you can quote them a good price. Now, we also don't want it to be like, like be super ridiculous. I remember reading this story. I think it was a story. I don't know whether this was in the 20s or in the 1800s or something, where people were selling tulips for like ridiculous prices just because, everybody, the tulips all of a sudden became a thing and everybody wanted to buy. And so people charge ridiculous amounts of money for that. I also don't believe in just being a ridiculously priced service. It's kind of like you're going to do your nails and all of a sudden you're paying $300. Like, why? Why are we paying $300 for nails? It may be good nails. It may be nail. Why? Their nails, do they have gold or what? Do you understand? So I don't believe in being ridiculous with your pricing. I don't believe in undervaluing yourself, but I do believe in realizing the value of your work, the quality of your work, the ability for your work to generate results for the client, and therefore charging a good rate for yourself. So that's what I wanted to share in today's video. If you have questions, please let me know. For those of you that are joining in, or those of you that will watch on the replay today, I talked about mindset, right? I'm talking about mindset, and specifically mindset as it relates to the value of your work as a writer, and realizing that if you're producing good work and if that work is bringing in results for your client, then you are within your rights to charge a healthy amount of money for what you've created. So I'll take any questions. You'll probably see my son coming in here to like run around a little bit. I apologize in advance. He's coming from school. All right. Cool. Hey. Yeah. All right, cool. Well, this was fantastic. I always enjoy doing these. So remember, mindset is important. Now you probably will be thinking, okay, so why, and I mentioned this earlier, and I want to reiterate that mindset is important, because you can have all the technical things in place. But if you haven't mastered your mindset, this is when you begin to undercharge, right? Remember the story I told you? I cut that price in half and it was like, it's okay. You can pay me this much. That was not a good move. Okay. It was undervaluing my work. It causes you to undercharge. And then another thing it does is that you begin to see your work as not that great. So I remember seeing this, I think on Instagram this week, and the person was a course creator, and they talked about the fact that, when they started creating courses, and this is what I'm sharing today's video, right? It can go for, anything. You could be selling physical products, you could be selling digital products, you could be offering a service like I do, right? And she said she had started creating courses and was charging really low amounts for them. All right. She was really charging low amounts for them. And then she would see other course creators, and she would join those courses. And then she was like, when she entered those courses, she realized, wait a minute, like, this is not better than my course. I have a lot of things that are much better than this, right? Not in a cocky way, not in a cocky and disrespectful way, but she began to realize that those people had the confidence to charge what they were charging because they had worked on their mindsets and she hadn't. So this is absolutely great. All right. So that's something to always remember. So Patricia's question is, are there any books, podcasts, YouTube channels you would suggest for new writers to work on our mindsets? I don't even think it's just new writers. I think there are a few things. I'm trying to think about a few things. A book that I think was helpful for me, I read a long time ago. I'm not so much of a fan of the individual that wrote it, but the content was quite good. Is a book called, I think, The 10X Principle by Grant Cardone. So if you don't know who Grant Cardone is, he's a real estate mogul, very loud on social media. Not a big fan of that, but definitely, and probably I hope nobody shares this video with him. I think not many people are fans of him, but he does what he does. That's his brand. Okay, but the 10X Principle by Grant Cardone was really good with when it came to mindset. So I would recommend that, the 10X Principle. I'm trying to think. Another good book is Jab, 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 Right Hook by Gary Vaynerchuk. And that book, he talks about, and I think that's a really good book for content creators like myself, like people that create YouTube videos, people that create podcasts and stuff, about serving your audience, about continuing to do things, being consistent, in whatever it is you're doing, and serving your audience, like doing that, right? Um, that's a good book, but it's also really motivating and it really works well on your mindset. If you don't have a copy of my book, Winner Freelance Writing, okay, you should get that, because I think the first two chapters, I talk about mindset. Yes, I do talk about mindset in the first 3 or 4 chapters. So I would highly recommend that you get Winner Freelance Writing, because I realized a long time ago that, yeah, I could write like all the technical things, and write I do write about the technical ways to like set up your website and things like that. But I really wanted to lay the foundation of mindset. And so this is another book, my own book. I'm going to plug it. Okay. So yeah, those are some of the books. Podcasts. I don't know. These days, I don't listen to as many podcasts that I can recommend about mindset. So, but these books are good. The 10X Principle by Grant Cardone, Jab Jab. Actually, any book by Gary Vaynerchuk, it's pretty good with mindset. And then I have a few chapters in Winner Freelance Writing on that. So Patricia says, I know working on mindset for anything is an inside job. Daily using, it is an inside job. Hey Kristen, could you drop the link for Winner Freelance Writing? Just it's on Amazon. Clement, you said how much for the book? It's on Amazon. It's only $3.99 for, I think, the ebook version. You can also get a physical copy for $9.99, something like that. Okay, and it's on Amazon. All my books are on Amazon.com. Okay, all right. Okay, so Clement says, are there any tools for new writers to know which niche to write about? I don't think there are any real tools out there for you to know or figure out your niche, to be honest. But one of the ways you can figure out your niche, I also write about it in this book. Okay, one of the ways you can figure out your niche is to look at what you read and what you enjoy. Okay, and one of the ways, what you read and what you enjoy. So I remember back in the day, I used to read a lot of content on digital marketing. I still do, but because I had a blog at the time, I was learning how to promote it. So I was reading everything I could about digital marketing and marketing a blog, right? And so I ended up knowing a whole lot about digital marketing and ended up writing a few pieces of content for people like that. I also have a background. Another way for you to figure out your niche is to consider what your educational or occupational background is, right? And so I have a background in healthcare and science. And so, because of my background in healthcare and science, right, I'm able to I know I have that knowledge. It's just came as part of my education. And because it came as part of my education, that's also something I can talk about authoritatively. And so that also was like the basis for how I started in health and science writing. I'm going to leave the link to my books and courses in the chat right now. You can go to geneontra.com/shop. You should be able to be able to digitally access these there. But yes, I would say that the tools are tools you already have, right? Think about the things that you already consume. Maybe you like beauty content, you like fashion content, you like health content, you like I know people that write gossip blogs. I'm not, again, that's not my thing, but maybe that's something that you can niche yourself into. If you think about your educational, or again, occupational background. So if you've worked in AI, you've worked in tech, you've worked in the health industry, you've worked in science, you've worked in education, right? There are niches and there are publications out there that you can write for and get paid for very well. Okay. Any more questions? It's okay. I just put the link to the it's okay, Kristen. I put the link to the shop right there. So geneontra.com/shop. That's geneontra.com/shop. All right. All right. So working on your mindset is going to be absolutely important in order for you to thrive as a writer. And once you're able to do that, you see that things come easily. And yes, your remember, always remember this, right? When it comes to pricing, that there are people that will say it's expensive, and then there are people that are going to be like, oh, that's all, I'm gonna pay that. Okay, that has definitely happened to me in the past. I remember when I coach people sometimes, and so I had a package by way back in the day. Somebody went, they're like, why are you charging that much? Then somebody came along, it was twice the price at this point. The person was like, oh, I'm gonna send you the money this evening. So some people will say it's pricey, some people will say that's even cheap. So I hope this was helpful. If it was, please remember to hit the thumbs up button. And hey, guys, I want you to be able to also tell me what kinds of content you like me to create on this channel. I've really been brainstorming and thinking of different ways. That's why I started doing the lunch stream. I love this interaction, this back and forth of you guys asking me questions and me answering them. Thank you so much for joining this afternoon. But one of the things I'd love for you to do is also suggest content ideas to me. And so if you want to direct message me at Geneontra, my handle is on the screen. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter. I'm more than happy to take your suggestions as far as content is concerned. And if you know anybody that needs this content, please share it with them. Okay, share it with them. Let's grow this community together. Okay. All right. Oh, this is a good one. That's such a good question. Kristen, could you copy and paste that in a Google Doc for me? Patricia says tools and the cost of them, like web hosting, website, email marketing. Yes, I can do that. So if Kristen just or screenshots or something of it and save it for me so that I can put it in my content calendar, that would be great. If there are no more questions, this was such a fantastic time with you guys. Always enjoy it. I'll see you all next week. Have a good day.